Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast for Tuesday, November 28, 2023. I hope you're having a great Tuesday. It's snowy here in West Michigan, and I will tell my friends again across the great state and across the country that lake effect snow is a very real thing. That's where cold air blows over a warm lake and ta-da, snow, and it's in your yard, which is okay. That's all right. Today I want to talk about Psalm 43:3. It's actually a psalm that I read. It's a verse that I read every Tuesday because I have this prayer book that I go through. And so one of the things that it calls for is morning prayer. And on Tuesday mornings, it calls for Psalm 43:3. Now, the New King James Version says, "Oh, send out thy light and thy truth." This is actually just King James. "Send out thy light and thy truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to thy holy hill and to thy dwelling." That's how we used to say it. The more NIV sort of modern day translation is, "Send me your light and your faithful care. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy mountain, to the place where you dwell." So I was thinking about this. So God sends out light, and this light is something that illuminates for us. It makes it so that we can see Him, so that we can see the world around us, and so that we can see ourselves. In fact, it says in Psalm 36, "In your light we see light." Light always reveals. Light leads. Light calls moths to porches, and light is what makes jack-o'-lanterns even more fun, the little candle in the middle. Light is what makes it possible for us to walk about and see where we're going without stumbling over whatever there is to be stumbled over. Light is a good thing. Light is also a bad thing. You know, I've talked before about how I brought the boys into this mirror maze thing that they have in Frankenmuth, Michigan, and you pay $10 and you just walk in, and it's basically just hallways and hallways of mirrors, and you get lost. It's very disorienting, and it's very lit strangely. It's very dark. And I was walking out of that place with the boys as they were getting ready to close because we were lost for a long time in the mirror maze. And I said, "Do you guys ever turn on all the lights in there?" And she said, "Yeah, you don't want to see that." And we're like, "Why?" And she said, "Because the mirrors are covered in all these smudges of people walking into the mirrors and just leaving their face marks. Like you have a thumbprint, you also leave a face print." So she said, "You don't want to see it with all the lights on." Light is revealing. Sometimes it shows us what we don't want. And that is why we tend to run away from the light of God. We do. Or we'll say, "Hey, light up this part, but not this part." Or we'll say, "Hey, let's focus the spotlight on just the good things that I do or the ways that I am like Jesus. And let's make the line of that spotlight really sharp so that it doesn't get into any other areas." But light can't help but bounce around. It just does. And we don't like that part of it. So when we say to the Lord, "Send me your light and your faithful care," interestingly enough, we need his light in order to receive his faithful care, just as a surgeon needs light to see what they're doing. But we avoid the light because we don't like the exposure, and so we miss out on his faithful care. You see what the dilemma is, right? In 1 Peter, it says that we are called out of darkness into his wonderful light. And I think of it like this. Sometimes it's like in this room right now, in this little tiny closet that is my studio. I've got sources of light, obviously. And then out here is Lexi's room, not to share too much information, but that's Lexi's room, but it's kind of dark out there because she's still waking up and she's listening to her tunes, right? So there are times where the opposite is true, where I'll walk into Lexi's room and she's awake and she has all her lights on, but the room here that I'm in now is dark. So I flip on a light. Boom. Now I can see what I'm doing. So the idea is that sometimes we will go and hide in the dark closet just to get away from the Lord, just to kind of do our own thing. A well-lit room, but we'll find a spot in our souls where we think that the light of God hasn't reached and that he doesn't know about. And we go in there and we hide, and then we come out and we go, "Oh, that wasn't so fun." We go down to the basement, the dark, gross basement, no windows, just smells like mildew, and for some reason we're drawn to this sickness, this spiritual sickness that leads to our own self-destruction. And we come back up and we go, "That was ridiculous. The light is blinding us, and it's almost too much." But for God to give his faithful care, which includes his forgiveness, he needs His light. We need his light, which includes our confession. Send me your light and faithful care. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy mountain. We got no business on a holy mountain being the way we are. It's only by the blood of Jesus that we can be made right with God and approach his holiness. That's how Jesus is our sacrifice of light. And in him is the light of mankind. So, all that to say this. It's Christmas time. It's Advent, actually. People line their houses with Christmas lights or spray the front of their houses with a laser light show, which is a much faster way to set up Christmas lights. And this light pierces the darkness, especially now that it gets dark at like 3:30 in the afternoon. The question I'm asking you is this: are you like that? Are you a person of the light? Or are you a person who is occasionally of the light when it's convenient, but also likes to like dip a toe in the darkness? You know the problem. In that darkness, there's nothing but destruction. And in that darkness, we find ourselves in a place where we are desperate for his light, but we don't want it because we don't like the exposure, just like Adam and Eve. But then when we eventually come out of that darkness, as he's always calling us out of the darkness into his light, he's got to send his light so that he can perform his faithful care, which is often spiritual surgery, to cleanse us, to make us right. And it's amazing. Over time, as you get to know Jesus, as you love him more, as you commit to his teaching and to his way more, it's like he shifts your heart and your desires so that darkness is to you disgusting, that you just aren't even drawn to it anymore, that you're simply drawn to the light. And that's how you know that you're experiencing his faithful care. If you have those moments of tension where you want to go there, but you don't, that's how you know you're healing. If you have those moments where you're drawn to the darkness, but you don't do it, that's how you know that you are growing. It's not that the temptation goes away. It's that the steps you take to that darkness become less and less often and longer of a journey for you to make. And it's all in the past. We forget what lies behind. We set our eyes and our hearts on what is ahead. And it is the light of Jesus. So walk in the light and be that example of light to the world. Man, the world needs that. Go and be the light.